Since I joined the sect, I've never cultivated. Yet I possess the terrifying power of a divine pen. Not only can the old yellow ox plowing our fields kill a group of divine kings with one kick, but even the little black dog tied at the door to guard the house can spit sword energy to fend off thousands of demons. Even the native chickens that lay eggs at home are descendants of the ancient phoenix. Therefore, as the only disciple of King Feng in Wuji sect, I feel that raising cattle and feeding chickens is enough. Why cultivate? But at this moment, Wuji sect seemed unusually lively. Because today is the day for recruiting new disciples, held once every 3 years. Yet compared to the bustle of the other 3 peaks, King Feng appeared especially desolate. In the hillside, there was a man and a woman. Strangely, the man was talking to a cow. Just then, a young boy ran over from a distant path. Seeing me talking to the old ox again, he couldn't help muttering, "This fool really thinks that cow is a spirit beast." But the boy had already come before me. "Senior Brother Chen, the sect leader told me to inform you that the recruitment ceremony is about to begin. King Feng's decline isn't something that happened overnight. With only one disciple, yet occupying all the cultivation resources of the entire peak, the other peak masters couldn't stand it any longer. So they went together to the sect leader demanding the merger of King Feng. Under pressure, the sect leader had no choice but to set up a gamble. King Feng must not only recruit disciples this time, but also secure a top 10 spot in the new disciple competition. Otherwise, it would agree on the spot to merge with another peak. At this, I could only nod helplessly. As a transmigrator, I had activated a unique talent for raising pets. All these years, I've been herding cattle. Just a few days ago, I started raising a duck. In the eyes of my fellow disciples, and probably a lost cause. Then I picked up the little black dog, and reminded the old yellow ox, "Master isn't here. I'm going to recruit a disciple for him. Don't run around if nothing's up." Dozens, hundreds of silver portals. Above the square, the 3 peak masters glanced at the empty seat beside them. "King Feng's peak master hasn't returned." The director beside them replied, "Not yet." But the sect leader said that King Feng's disciple recruitment is to be handled by Chen Pingping. That guy who's been herding cattle for 3 years. The 3 peak masters exchanged glances and couldn't help laughing. As I entered, a wave of excitement stirred among the newcomers below. "Wow, who is this senior brother? He's really handsome." Just then, the director looked at me with a dark face. "Senior Brother Chen, at the sect's recruitment ceremony, bringing a dog is inappropriate. You herded cattle for 3 years, are you going to raise a dog for another 3? The other 3 peak masters were all speechless. But this wasn't bad. This move was ruining King Feng's image. That way, no one would dare join King Feng. When that happens, King Feng will be forced to merge. "Begin," the peak master of GLI said indifferently. The director helplessly stepped forward. Just then, the peak master of Bingsu looked at me and asked, "I wonder how many disciples Senior Brother Chen plans to recruit this time." I replied, "Master said, to recruit just one is enough. Any more, and he wouldn't be able to manage them, nor would he have the time. I've been here for 3 years. And Master has never taught me cultivation. I've always been left to my own devices. To put it in Master's words, as long as you look good, that's enough. Why cultivate?" When the director struck the bell, the entire scene fell silent instantly. The Wuji sect recruitment ceremony thus began. As the director gave a round of introductions, the crowd below buzzed with discussion. Only one Xiaoyu in the corner was lost in thought. She was no ordinary girl. Beneath that youthful face lay a heart that had cultivated for 100,000 years. She was once a demon emperor, invincible above the 9 heavens. Later, betrayed by her own disciples, the wisp of her soul fell into reincarnation at the moment of her fall. The demon emperor was reborn, and decided to find a small sect to cultivate in obscurity, waiting until she regained her strength to return to the 9 heavens. As she pondered, the other 3 peaks had each chosen their disciples. The talented disciples being discussed, and on the square, only Guang Xiaoyu was left alone, feeling a bit flustered, wondering in his heart how everyone had vanished. Just then, Jilai Fenju smiled and said, "Chen Shizhe, this one is yours to take." Yes, hurry up and accept him." The other 2 Fenjus chimed in agreement. Over 200 new disciples. Now only one with poor aptitude remains. Seems like giving him to King Feng isn't a big deal. At this moment, Wan Xiaoyu looked utterly bewildered. I hadn't even decided yet, and then Feng already abandoned me. They even dared to say my aptitude is poor. Oh dear, these really are a bunch of narrow-minded little cultivators. But I, standing nearby, just smiled and said, "What's there to fear about poor aptitude? Aren't you still with your senior brother? After all, we just need to take in one disciple. 2 it is, doesn't matter." I stood up and walked over to him. Smiling, I asked, "Are you willing to join my King Feng peak? Do I even have a choice?" Wan Xiaoyu shot me a glare. Damn little cultivator, daring to look down on me. Remembering the disdainful expressions and tones of those prefenges just now, Wan Zairoyu fumed with rage. The mighty demon emperor looked down upon, now forced to join this desolate King Feng Pi, and face a senior brother who keeps a dog. Wan Zairoyu's worldview began to crumble. Just then, I worked ahead and muttered, "Our King Feng doesn't have many rules. I don't even know what realm Master Wei Yuking is at. I'm the only disciple under him. Now you're added to the roster. Oh, and our master is very busy. He won't have time to teach you cultivation. Even if he returns, don't bother him. If you have any problems, just come to me." At this, Wan Zairoyu looked utterly hopeless. Why am I so unlucky? After a hard-won rebirth, I end up with a senior brother like this. Forget it, forget it. This mighty demon emperor doesn't need anyone to guide my cultivation. Your room is over there. Go tidy it up yourself. I have things to do now. Then I picked up the little black dog and left. But behind me, Wan Zairoyu frowned, wondering why there was no cultivation. Fluctuation in senior brother's body. Driven by curiosity, Wan Zairoyu quietly followed, only to see me leading an old yellow ox, bathing in a stream. He even keeps an ox. Wan Zairoyu's eyes went wide. Oh my heavens, what kind of bizarre senior brother is this? No wonder there's not a trace of cultivation fluctuation in his body. His aptitude is too poor to cultivate, so he's given up on himself. Wan Zairoyu sighed softly, and stepped watching. The morning sun rose. All things revived. Early in the morning, and the hillside, there was one person, one ox, and one dog. The person kept chattering. The ox rolled its eyes. The dog barked nonstop. The scene was oddly harmonious. Tell me, when will Master ever return? Little Junior's sister's aptitude is so poor. Can she even break into the top 10 in the new disciple tournament? Just then, suddenly, the system prompted that the feeding days had reached 1,000, rewarding 20 years of cultivation, mastery of basic swordsmanship, a 30-fold boost in comprehension, and 23rd grade spiritual herbs. The feeding level also rose to level 3. Under the sunlight, a sword intent surged from within my body, and this scene was caught by Wan Zairoyu as he worked over. He froze instantly, his heart filled with shock. What was that? Just now, that was sword intent, but isn't he just a dispirited mortal? Wan Zairoyu frowned deeply. The next moment, the sword intent vanished. An illusion, definitely an illusion. Wan Zairoyu breathed a sigh of relief. How could the mighty demon emperor be mistaken? Hearing footsteps behind me, I turned around. It's Junior's sister. How did you sleep last night? Thank you for your concern, senior brother. I wonder when Master will return. Wan Zairoyu asked. I want to temper my body, but someone needs to stand guard. This is the price of poor talent. I understand. It dawned on me. Senior brother, I'll prepare it for you right away. Before long, I led him to the back mountain. Seeing the dense array of spiritual herbs in the medicine field, Wan Zairoyu was instantly stunned. Such a shabby and rundown hilltop. Yet it's planted with so many spiritual herbs. That's incredible. It took about half an hour. I gathered over 30 different kinds of spiritual herbs. Then I fetched a bucket of water and tossed all the herbs in. Soon after, a rich spiritual energy began to diffuse through the air, and the moment Wan Zairoyu entered the water, a scorching heat immediately struck him, as if he had jumped into a pit of fire. He quickly circulated his danshin to absorb the spiritual energy, but because the medicinal properties were too potent, the bucket began to boil. After about 2 minutes, he couldn't hold on any longer and called out to senior brother with a trembling voice. Then his consciousness grew hazier and hazier, and his vision followed suit. In his daze, he only saw me working over. This posture is terrible. Can't even withstand 37 types of spiritual herbs. When Master said he had a brittle body, he used over 100 kinds of spiritual herbs. I immediately sat down cross-legged, placed both hands in the bucket, and, along with the person and bucket, tempered them together, helping Wan Zairoyu absorb the medicinal power to awaken. By the time Wan Zairoyu woke up, it was already the next day. He felt completely relaxed, and his limbs were full of strength. It seemed quite a bit of spiritual energy had gathered in his danshin. Not bad at all. I examine your body. Your meridians aren't strong enough, and your danshin is too small. We'll temper your body again tonight, or maybe tomorrow. Erpang and the old lady finally arrived. I took out a few spiritual herbs and said, the sect leader called for me. So, Junior's sister, could you help me feed that old ox? Feed the ox? Wan Zairoyu bristled instantly. I, the mighty demon emperor, am going to feed an ox. What a joke. Before he could refuse, I set down the spiritual herbs and left, leaving Wan Zairoyu alone, standing there in the wind, utterly bewildered. At this moment, atop the peak of Wuji sect, the current sect leader, Bai Lai Jiansen, stood with his hands behind his back, gazing at the mountains and rivers in the distance. Not long after, from behind came my voice, greetings, sect leader. Xianxia has arrived. You finally come. Bai Lai Jiansen turned around with a smile. Xianxia, about the new disciple competition half a year from now, do you have confidence? That depends on master. I replied gloomily. One was asking knowingly, the other answering perfunctorily. How is Wang Xiaoyu's talent? I'm afraid the entire sect already knows the answer. I felt a pang of bitterness. Bai Lai Jiansen chuckled. Come to think of it, Xianxia, you've been in the sect for 3 years now. Those young people who joined with you 3 years ago have long since stepped into the spirit realm. On ordinary days, Junior's sister Wen is somewhat busy, and she's been negligent in your training. But over these 3 years, you've been lazy yourself, never setting any demands on yourself. Can this really be called negligence? When has master ever taught me cultivation? I felt wronged but was too lazy to explain. Yet I had to admit, in some respects, that master of mine has indeed been very good to me. I remember 2 years ago, when Yuking went to the refining hall to demand an explanation. In the end, they compensated with a huge pile of spiritual herbs and elixirs, all given to me. The most absurd part is that I've been herding cattle on Qingfeng Peak for 3 years, and when Yuking never once hinted at expelling me from the sect. I smiled and replied, yes, I'll definitely rest well. On the other side of the slope, there was a man, an ox, and a dog. The ox was still that old yellow ox, and the dog was still that little black dog, but the man was no longer me. It was a furious Guan Zairoyu. He tried feeding the old yellow ox several times, but the old ox simply ignored him. I kindly helped you, yet you show such disdain. Guan Zairoyu gritted her teeth in anger, rolled up her sleeves, ready to teach him a lesson. But then the old yellow ox suddenly kicked out, and sent him flying with one blow. When Guan Zairoyu scrambled to his feet, he was utterly dumbfounded. Just then, from afar, my voice came, you can't beat him. Guan Zairoyu quickly straightened his robes, forced a smile, putting on airs, saying, one should have great bearing and style. How could I argue with an ox? I smiled without a word, took the spiritual medicine from his hand, and the old yellow ox actually chomped and munched, eating it up with delight. Seeing this, Guan Zairoyu instantly calmed down a lot. Senior brother, do you often feed Guan Zairoyu with spiritual medicine? He asked curiously. Utterly heartless. Let me tell you something. Your talent is far too poor, so the body tempering step must be handled with extra care. Later, I'll devise a plan for you. What plan? Guan Zairoyu was full of curiosity. Of course, it's to increase the intensity of the body tempering. Poor talent doesn't matter. Senior brother has spiritual medicine. If your meridians are weak, use spiritual medicine to expand them. If your dantian is too small, use spiritual medicine to open it up. Clearwind Mountain lacks nothing, but spiritual medicine is abundant beyond count. I've made up my mind. No matter what, I will pile up Guan Zairoyu's cultivation realm. The first body tempering used 37 spiritual herbs. The second time should naturally increase the dosage. But I think Guan Zairoyu's body's endurance is still far from meeting the standard. A month passed in a hurry. Guan Zairoyu persevered without pause, accumulating 5 rounds of body tempering, consuming a full 437 spiritual herbs. At last, he successfully strengthened his meridians, and his dantian expanded considerably. His Kai circulation reached 300 cycles. Too pathetic. What can be done about this? I frowned and muttered to myself. 300 cycles is pathetic. Guan Zairoyu's small face instantly scrunched up. After all, 100,000 years ago, when he first began cultivation, his circulation was only a little over 280 cycles. Seeing my utterly distressed expression, he really wanted to say that circulation cycles don't decide everything. Poor talent is still poor talent in the end. Senior brother, why not take on another junior brother? Or perhaps a junior sister? Wang Zairoyu teetered on the edge of collapse, truly exhausted. But I just smiled and said, I remember, GLIP took in a fellow named Zhu Zhuoshuang. Let's go see senior brother, that's a perfect match. I know. On my delicate and flawless face, what showed was an utterly indifferent expression, as if I had no idea what a match meant, or simply didn't care about it at all. Guan Zairoyu, do you understand? The dispirited senior brother, unable to cultivate, had placed all his hopes on him. He couldn't help but feel secretly moved. Without delay, the two arrived at Gili Peak. Zhu Zhuoshuan watched the approaching pair. He knew me somewhat, and felt no surprise, only disdain. As for Guan Zairoyu, wasn't she just that little girl with the worst talent? One spends all day herding cattle and working ducks. The other has talent that's rock bottom. The two of you together, what a perfect match. Zhu Zhuoshuan said contemptuously, is there something? How many cycles did you achieve before entering Poying? I asked urgently. Zhu Zhuoshuan sneered. Are you asking for yourself or for him? Guan Zairoyu's face instantly flushed with anger. I quickly stopped him. How many? Zhu Zhuoshuan answered with a proud expression. 290 cycles. Wan Xiaoyu couldn't help but laugh. But I was stunned for a moment. So pathetic. After getting the answer, there was no need for the two to linger on the lush hillside. I pulled the old yellow ox along. Now, strike this old ox, I said. Let me see your strength. Old yellow ox was taken aback. His face showed reluctance. Senior brother, I can handle my cultivation myself. Wan Xiaoyu stepped forward. I frowned and said, though master is busy, and has no time to teach you cultivation, your senior brother is still here. Besides, with your poor talent, can you really cultivate on your own? My talent isn't poor. Wan Xiaoyu huffed in anger. This junior sister is really stubborn. Fine, I said with a smile. Go ahead. Come ask if you have any problems. I said, old yellow ox takes first place. The little black dog barked as usual. Wan Xiaoyu, with a heart full of joy, hurried away. Inside the room, Wan Xiaoyu began to circulate the 9 revolutions demon god art. This technique was extremely fierce, overwhelmingly domineering, and even had the power to devour souls. If one was the slightest bit careless, they would instantly fall into an abyss of doom. It was perilous beyond measure. Only someone like Wan Xiaoyu, reborn with demonic power, would choose such a terrifying cultivation method. For anyone else, just hearing the name would make them think twice. However, the demon emperor was no longer the demon emperor of old. Reborn, he was now just a weak little girl. Her cultivation talent was poor, and everything was just beginning. Her danshan, her physical body, and her soul were far from meeting the requirements of the 9 revolutions demon god art. Forcing cultivation was bound to cause a violent backlash. Outside the door, I was startled. Like an arrow from a bow, I dashed in swiftly. Too reckless. By the time Wan Xiaoyu woke up, it was already the 3rd day. His face was as pale as paper, my lips turned purple, and his whole body was weak. Seeing me leaning against the side, asleep, he called out weakly, Senior brother. I jolted awake from my dream. He hummed in acknowledgement, his voice as faint as an insect's. Senior brother, I'm hungry. A miscalculation, a miscalculation. The 9 revolutions demon god art is truly terrifying. It seems I must wait until after breaking through to cultivate it. Wan Xiaoyu thought, still shaken. I worked in carrying a bowl of plain kanji. Core talent doesn't mean anything. As long as you're willing to work hard. Don't give up and don't fear the road ahead, that's what matters. Throughout history, there have been many who achieved greatness late. Yes, thank you for your guidance, senior brother. Wan Xiaoyu took a few bites and asked vaguely, Senior brother, does our master have any techniques left behind? On the back mountain of Qingfeng there's a small cave. Inside, there are many techniques, weapons, and such. Wan Xiaoyu was pleasantly surprised. He had thought Qingfeng was just a barren mountain, with nothing at all. He never expected such hidden resources. Senior brother, Wan Xiaoyu suddenly called out to ask me, in our current situation, if master finds out, it might not end well, right? Wan Xiaoyu couldn't help but show concern. After all, he was still growing, and cultivating in secret was the right path. I smiled and recalled, don't worry, these techniques and weapons are all mine. Wan Xiaoyu's mouth slightly opened, his face full of shock, a dispirited senior brother, not only hoarding a pile of spiritual medicines, but also collecting numerous techniques and weapons. Is this really just immortal? Wan Xiaoyu couldn't help but suspect that his senior brother was deliberately hiding his strength. Tar, the demon emperor, feels a bit embarrassed. Wan Xiaoyu searched for a while, and noticed a cultivation method called Wan Kai transforms into 3 purities. In truth, this couldn't be simply considered a technique. It leaned more toward a divine ability. He casually flipped through it, and the more he read, the more profound it seemed. Dao resonance, spirit purification, body cleansing, soul driving. Wan Kai transforms into 3 purities. Unknowingly, Wan Xiaoyu became completely absorbed. By the time he came to, 2 hours had already passed. Inside the cave, the rain hides my figure. A look of delight crosses his face. You're chosen. After selecting the technique, he began to carefully examine the collection within the cave. He couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Senior brother is truly remarkable. As immortal to have gathered so many things. In the hillside, I meticulously carved a wooden sword. I was focused on practicing the basic swordsmanship, simple and adorned moves, in my hands. Yet they flowed with a natural, perfected sword intent. Between stillness and motion, ripples of Dao resonance spread layer by layer. This is the pinnacle of basic swordsmanship. Wan Xiaoyu, approaching, witnessed this scene. He was instantly dumbfounded. Sword intent again. Senior brother is hiding his true skill, but he clearly shows no fluctuation in cultivation level. What's going on? Did I misjudge? Yet how could I, a proud demonic prodigy, be mistaken? Could senior brother be a sword Dao physique, only a mortal body, yet able to wield sword intent? Only this explanation can convince me. Having chosen, I sheathed my sword and asked. One Kai transforms into 3 purities. One Zairoyu presented the technique, secretly sizing up the senior brother before him. Not bad, I said with a smile. Cultivated to the extreme, it can manifest 3 spirits, and even conceal other methods. These words seemed to carry a deeper meaning, though I wondered if one Zairoyu could grasp it. One Zairoyu nodded in agreement, glancing at the old yellow ox nearby, then at the little black duck hopping about not far away. He couldn't help but say, "Senior brother, cultivation isn't really that hard. Herding cattle and raising dogs is fine, but you should also focus on your own training." Inwardly, he silently grumbled, "RY looks utterly corrupted. By the way, senior brother, where did you get those spiritual herbs, kills, and weapons?" One Zairoyu was full of curiosity. "Master gave them to me." This answer left no room for rebuttal. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, over half a month had passed. One Zairoyu finally succeeded in stepping into the Po-Yang realm. He grew restless for the 9 revolutions demon god art. After hesitating for several days, he ultimately decided to continue cultivating. Outside the door, I tightly held the little black dog, covering its mouth. With a calm expression, I stared at one Zairoyu's room. I could clearly sense the terrifying fluctuation. Again, Junior's sister has ultimately chosen that path. Well, to each their own. It cannot be forced. Those who wield a sword are not necessarily killers. Those who kill often hide deeper. The demonic path, after all, is also a form of cultivation. Having understood this, I let go of my obsession. Lowering my head, I smiled and said, "Don't bark." The little black dog immediately quieted down. Not long after, the demonic horror in the room grew denser. I stepped forward quickly, sprinkling over a dozen spirit stones, and began setting up a formation. Several hours later, the cultivation session ended. One Zairoyu had advanced from the first layer of Po-Yang to the 3rd. Such speed was astonishing. My eyelids couldn't help but twitch. "How do you feel?" I broke through. "Feels pretty good." I nodded and said, "Take this wooden sword. From today onward, unless you face a life-threatening danger, you are not to use a real weapon. Not unless I permit it." I stood up, not waiting for one Zairoyu's reply, and added, "There's also a gathering of disciples from the 4 sects. Go take a look. Make some friends while you're at it." The wooden sword was no ordinary one. The reason I gave it to one Zairoyu was to make him restrain and temper himself. I just feared he might not understand my good intentions. A wooden sword has no edge. One Zairoyu looked as if he wanted to cry but had no tears. When the sword reaches minor mastery, though the blade is dull, the sword in the heart reaches great mastery. No sword in hand, the sword is in the heart, so a wooden sword is still a sword. I smiled faintly and explained, "Besides, this wooden sword of mine isn't made from ordinary wood, torquing like it's real. HMPH, you've given up on cultivation yourself, yet you still meddle with others. No. How could a senior brother from this sect be an ordinary man?" One Zairoyu made up her mind, her gaze growing firm. After taking the wooden sword, she left. "Master, this little junior sister of ours is no simple one." I sighed helplessly. The world is vast, with countless cultivators, but how many can tolerate a demon cultivator's existence? Everyone says Wen Yu is too lazy to manage King Feng, too lazy to recruit disciples, and even lazier to teach me cultivation. But who knows, I'm even lazier. My laziness mainly shows in my tolerance. Too lazy to argue. Even knowing one Zairoyu practices demonic arts, and merely sigh in reflection. If it were anyone else, they'd have already drawn their sword, or directly driven her down the mountain gate. Tell me, was I wrong? I asked the old ox. It rolled its eyes, and turned away. Woof woof woof. The little black duck chased after the old ox. I lay down, a blade of grass dangling from my mouth, muttering, "A man's life? A grass's autumn. Not line, nor short. Junior sister, I hope you make a few more friends, and I hope this wooden sword truly restrains you. Otherwise, your senior brother will be very sad." And the sunlit square, figures of youths, were vigorously swinging the fruits of months of practice. Some sat cross-legged in meditation, their robes fluttering in the wind, looking the part. Today wasn't a major occasion, just a gathering of new disciples from the 4 peaks, to spar and exchange. In plain terms, the core was showing off. For instance, so-and-so obtained a 3rd-grade weapon from the armory, razor sharp, capable of cutting iron like mud, drawing envy from all. Or some genius acquired a high-level cultivation method, their realm soaring, already standing at the 5th layer of breaking yang, making everyone sigh, "Too strong." Truly a genius. Even I, Nengenju of Ice Snow Peak, am no slouch. My physical body nearly reaches the minor city realm. Though my realm is still the 5th layer of breaking yang, I dare bet, even a 7th layer cultivator would struggle to harm me. A youth raised his head and declared loudly, Impressive, impressive. The crowd nodded in approval. Just then, a slender figure slowly walked over from the path. It was Guan Zairoyu, a King Feng disciple. Her appearance caught everyone off guard, though it was said to be a gathering of disciples from all 4 peaks. In their eyes, it was really just an exchange for 3 peaks disciples, having nothing to do with King Feng. Why is she here? One person looked utterly surprised. After all, the new disciple tournament was coming up. Maybe she wants to check the situation. Not many couldn't help but laugh. Her joining the new disciple tournament, you'll make me die laughing. Remember, King Feng only has 2 disciples. The master is elusive as a dragon. The senior brother spent years herding cattle, and now he's raising a duck. And this talentless disciple tisk. This King Feng must be the comic relief of the cultivation world. A bunch of brats. Guan Zairoyu glanced sideways, thinking to herself, if not for my senior brother telling me to come, I wouldn't bother with you lot. Let your senior brother Chen Pingping come. I want to challenge him. A voice suddenly rang out from behind the crowd. Zhuge Wuxuan stepped forward steadily, having cultivated for several months. His aura grew increasingly handsome and commanding. His eyes were bright and piercing. In every gesture and movement, there was a natural, effortless charm. Seeing Zhuge Wuxuan's figure, everyone instantly perked up with interest. Not long ago, Chen Pingping had publicly humiliated his Zhu Tanyan Zhu Zailuo. He was far too weak. Now Zhuge Wuxuan was challenging Chen Pingping. His intention was obvious, he wanted to reclaim his honor. Guan Zairoyu sneered with disdain, save it. Zhuge Wuxuan remained silent, still advancing with unwavering resolve. The fluctuation of his aura shifted, as if he had transformed into a wisp of gentle wind, making him elusive and hard to read. This was a high-level movement technique finally he was about to show off. In just a few short months, he had comprehended a high-level movement technique and successfully stepped into the 5th layer of Koying. Such extraordinary achievements. Among the younger generation, 2 could rival him. His speed grew faster and faster, as if he had perfectly merged with a breeze. Guan Zairoyu couldn't help but feel a secret shock. But what surprised him wasn't Zhuge Wuxuan's strength, but the Yiqiu Sanking technique he himself cultivated. When he activated his technique, the Zhuge Wuxuan before him began to slow down in his sight. By the time Zhuge Wuxuan closed in, he raised his hand and fiercely slapped outward. With that, he easily broke the high-level movement technique. Everyone was instantly stunned, especially the disciples of the Gli Wing lineage. The smiles on their faces instantly froze. No way, that little girl just now actually broke Zhuge Wuxuan's high-level movement technique. Even Zhuge Wuxuan himself was momentarily dazed. The next moment, Guan Zairoyu dashed out in a few quick steps. His speed was even faster than Zhuge Wuxuan's. In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of him. Then came a few more slaps. Clear red fingerprints remained, directly knocking Zhuge Wuxuan unconscious. He even foamed at the mouth. And you think you can challenge my senior brother with this? What a trash high-level movement technique. Go home, wash up, and go to sleep. Guan Zairoyu mercilessly taunted. All the Gli Wing disciples were left breathless, silent as cicadas in winter. If they weren't mistaken, what Guan Zairoyu had just displayed was likely a movement technique, wasn't it? The scene suddenly fell silent. An eerie atmosphere quietly spread. Soon, the Gli Wing sect master received the news. His face instantly darkened like the bottom of a pot. He asked in disbelief, didn't Zhuge Wuxuan master a high-level movement technique? How could he still lose? Breaking through the 5th layer of Koying with a high-level movement technique and a unified body at that. He couldn't even last a single round against that little girl. And lost? What kind of joke is this? Dozens, hundreds of silver portals. Over at the Ice Snow Peak, Fengju also received the news. His face was full of astonishment. Guan Zairoyu defeated Zhuge Wuxuan's King Feng. I stared sharply at Guan Zairoyu and said sternly, tell me, where exactly did you go wrong? Guan Zairoyu was full of grievance. I went to exchange pointers and achieved remarkable results. Defeated the young genius of Gli Wind, and forced back Mo Wuwei of Wanjian Peak. I clearly brought glory to King Feng. How is that wrong? Guan Zairoyu slightly lifted his eyelids and muttered. I should have directly taken out Zhuge Wuxuan to eliminate a strong opponent for the freshman competition. My face instantly darkened. I told you to make a few friends, so you wouldn't work the path of cultivation alone. But you ended up fighting Zhuge Wuxuan and even thought about killing him. What were you thinking? A person's life is endlessly long, especially for us cultivators. Having a lifespan of several hundred years is perfectly normal. So you need to make more friends. Understand? I said earnestly. That was my original intention. But I never expected that Guan Zairoyu would knock Zhuge Wuxuan down right from the start, and even scare off Mo Wuwei. It's not my fault. Guan Zairoyu quickly retorted. That Zhuge Wuxuan came up and immediately challenged you, senior brother. and even called you by your full name. And when he walked toward me, he showed no sign of stepping. So I just slapped him. Then he rushed over and slapped him a few more times. I stared at him intently. Gradually, I realized something was off. Wan Ziroi retorted again, it's not entirely my fault. If you had been there back then, and seen that look on his face, senior brother, you definitely wouldn't have been able to hold back from torquing nonsense either. Senior brother, don't be angry. You've already hit him. Besides, I did it for King Feng's sake. Otherwise, they'd think King Feng is easy to bully. Wan Ziroi looked at me pitifully. I couldn't help but feel quite moved. Senior brother, letting him communicate with Sentung was meant to help him make more friends, so he wouldn't be isolated by his peers. Senior brother, I have a question. Wan Ziroi quickly changed the subject. Wan Kai transforms into 3 purities. Is this cultivation method really given by master? Yes, why? This cultivation method is vastly different from the cultivation in this world. He said seriously, how is it different? Innate Dao blockage. Wan Ziroyu's expression turned solemn. I looked at him. How do you know that? Feng Ziroyu smiled sheepishly. It's written in the books, in the depths. Bailey Giantson said earnestly, Xianxia, if you have any difficulties, feel free to tell me, understand? I was full of doubts. He continued, we are a righteous sect, and a major sect at that. Never sacrifice the entire sect's reputation for the sake of a ranking, or even Wan Ziroyu's life. Admittedly, his talent is somewhat lacking, but throughout history there have been many late bloomers. I understood now. It turned out that Wan Ziroyu defeating Juge Wuxia made the GLI Peak Master unhappy, so he secretly came to tattle, slandering Wan Ziroyu in every way. I spoke up. I, King Feng, have accumulated cultivation resources over the years, and I rarely use them myself. Now that Ziroyu has arrived, Uncle Sect Master, do you think he's unworthy of these resources? Bailey Giantson smiled. Uncle Sect Master, rest assured, I know Ziroyu's cultivation better than anyone. He hasn't strayed from the path, nor has he practiced any chaotic techniques. That's good. Bailey Giantson chuckled. Ziroyu's cultivation is important, but you should also pay some attention to your own. Thank you for your concern, Uncle Sect Master. As time slowly passed, the newcomer tournament drew closer. Wan Ziroyu's round stabilized at the 5th heaven of Poyang. He stopped cultivating for a short time, focusing instead on consolidating his foundation to prepare for the upcoming battles. Just then, from the Lifeng Peak, came news of Juge Wuxian's breakthrough, successfully reaching the 8th heaven of Poyang, causing the peak's disciples to cheer and celebrate. Chowing, senior brother is amazing. Then the other side, Mo Wu Wei of the 10,000 Swords Peak also broke through. Wu Qi of the Ice and Snow Peak was still in seclusion, but the Peak Master remained quite calm. The genius under my command either stays silent, or startles the world with a single cry. The 10,000 Swords Peak Master laughed. It seems you've invested heavily, junior brother. The Ice and Snow Peak Master sneered. Sing Sing retorted, as if you're any different. Without a mountain of resources, could Mo Wu Wei have broken through to the 8th heaven of Poyang so quickly? The GLI Peak Master smiled. Both junior brothers seemed confident. The top 10 of this newcomer tournament will probably be dominated by your disciples. Senior brother is joking. The 10,000 Swords Peak Master spoke. Juge Wuxian is a one-in-a-body talent, and he's received your guidance, senior brother. Though he's only at the 8th heaven of Poyang, because of his movement technique. Even if a Soul Mirror Realm expert were here, Juge Wuxian would have nothing to fear. Yes, indeed. The Ice and Snow Peak Master echoed. You two junior brothers are joking. Below, I secretly rolled my eyes. This was textbook mutual flattery. Bailey Giantson spoke. All right. The newcomer tournament is about to begin. Let's follow the usual customs. Now let us establish some rules, so that we do not lose our footing during the tournament. I agree, the Ice Snow Wind Master said with a smile, acknowledging me. I also agree. The 9-mile Wind Master spoke up. The 100-mile Sword 3, who had just been about to refute the proposal, was left speechless. 100-mile Sword 3 looked toward me, preparing to ask for my opinion. As long as I objected, even if all 3 peaks agreed, he would suppress this proposal. However, I smiled. Since several senior uncles have all agreed, I, King Feng, can only agree as well. After a pause, he then guided the conversation, but I also have a proposal. Can we bring pets during the tournament? The several wing masters never expected that I would actually agree. Their proposal was to upgrade the weapons ranks. Those were third-tier weapons. Once they appeared in the freshman tournament, they could almost sweep through all major enemies. The 3 peaks seemed indifferent. Each of them had geniuses who had gained the recognition of third-tier weapons, fully usable as trump cards. But as for King Feng, with just that little girl Wan Ziroyu's talent, Being able to possess a second-tier weapon was already good enough. The peak masters exchanged glances and then smiled faintly, each harboring their own ulterior motives. Yet the sect leader, 100-Mile Giant 3, was secretly furious. Not only did I not refute their proposals, but I even suggested bringing pets into battle. What was I thinking? Others wielded powerful weapons, with all kinds of energy erupting. Was I going to let one Zairoyu drag a cow over to touch its hooves, or carry that little black dog to bark woof woof? 100-Mile Giant 3 was utterly speechless with me, but the three peak masters were almost laughing uncontrollably. The 10,000 Swords peak master spoke, since Chen Shizhai has generously agreed to our proposals. Then I, 10,000 Swords peak, also agreed to Chen Shizhai's proposal. The 9-Mile Wind master beside him smiled and added, I also agree to bringing pets. Good, this is a bold attempt. Perhaps it will add a lot of fun to the freshman tournament. The fun added was all for the three peaks' amusement. This King Feng, as the comic relief, had truly earned his reputation. The Ice Snow Peak master smiled and expressed agreement. Over the next few hours, many rules for the freshman tournament were established. Apart from the proposal made by the 10,000 Arrows Peak master, the 9-Mile Wind Peak master also raised one. He demanded that the battlefield's range be expanded from the original 100 meters to 500 meters. The reason given was simple. With a larger battlefield, the freshmen could perform better, no longer confined to a narrow space. At this, 100-Mile Giant 3 frowned deeply. I knew very well that the reason was that one Zairoyu, relying on her movement technique to defeat Juge Wuxuan, had clearly left a deep shadow on the 9-Mile Wind master. If the battlefield expanded, it would be more favorable for Juge Wuxuan's performance. After all, he was a one-body cultivator, and had also cultivated a high-level true technique, while Guang Zairoyu's cultivation content simply lacked movement techniques. Just as he was about to refute, the other two peak masters had already expressed their stance, agreeing with the 9-Mile Wind master's proposal. Helpless, I could only nod, but after the meeting dispersed, 100-Mile Giant 3 kept me behind and sighed, saying, You were too impulsive. My expression was calm as still water. Sect leader uncle, rest assured, rules are ultimately just rules. Powerful strength is the foundation of everything. In the room, one Zairoyu, too, was consolidating her realm. Nearly encountered the backlash of the 9 revolutions demon god art. Good thing, it was suppressed by the power of the one Kai transforming 3 pure ones. Her heart chirped violently, utterly shocked. This method was no ordinary cultivation method. Several days passed, and one Zairoyu finally finished consolidating her realm. She had a profound feeling that these two techniques complemented each other, and abandoning either one would make it impossible to continue cultivating. Pushing open the door, the mist sunlight gently fell upon her. Once again arriving at the hillside, one Zairoyu slowly walked over to her senior brother. Let us cultivate together from now on. I said, let's set aside the matter of cultivation for now. Senior brother has something to tell you. Chuenji explained the rules of this year's new disciple competition one by one. When mentioning the proposal from the meeting, one Zairoyu was furious beyond words. He roared loudly. Damn it, they are clearly targeting me on purpose. When I heard that the battlefield range had been expanded, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. The fury deep within my heart instantly blazed like wildfire. The larger the range, the more advantageous it is for Juge Wuxuan. This is utterly outrageous. One Zairoyu gritted her teeth. Senior brother, don't you have any suggestions? I smirked smugly. Of course I do. Do you think I'm a fool? Oh. One Zairoyu's eyes lit up with excitement. Senior brother, tell me quickly. I pointed at the old ox not far away. How about bringing a pet into the fight? Pretty clever, right? Though the three sects each have their strengths in cultivation, they have no pets. That's their weakness. I boasted proudly. Hey, junior sister, where are you going? Before I could finish. Wait, don't work away. Am I expecting too much from senior brother? After all, he's just a mortal. One Zairoyu sighed softly. Forget it, forget it. If I really lose this match, I'll just take senior brother and leave the Wuji sect. Find a quiet place to cultivate in seclusion. This tiny Wuji sect isn't worth my time anyway. With that decision made, she no longer cared about senior brother's suggestion. Bringing a pet into battle, let him do as he pleases. The bright moon hung high, the gentle night breeze brushed by. After much deliberation, I resolutely made a major decision. I walked to one Zairoyu's door, and asked softly, Are you asleep? Not yet, came a voice from inside. Come out for a moment. I continued, 3rd grade weapons. They don't lack them, and in considerable numbers. But I absolutely cannot hand them over to one Zairoyu. Regardless of whether she has the ability to gain a 3rd grade weapons recognition, the key point is, I must not expose her cultivation status too much. Even if it means losing the match, it's worth it. Hearing this, Wan Xiaoyu pushed open the door and stepped out, her eyes still heavy with sleep. Tomorrow, you'll step onto the battlefield. Senior brother has decided to entrust you with his most genuine treasure. Wan Xiaoyu instantly perked up, her face filled with alarm. A deep, resonant bell tolled faintly in the early morning, piercing through the sky and splitting the heavens. The sound was long and profound. At dawn, the square was packed with people. Today was the auspicious day of the new disciple competition. Disciples from all 4 peaks gathered to watch. The elders, who usually stayed in seclusion, upon learning that the 3rd peak had taken in several geniuses, also arrived early. The Wind Peak master looked at Zhu Wuxia and said with a smile, "You are a dual cultivator of high rank. Your movement technique has already reached the 8th level, far ahead of your peers. Securing a top 10 spot is no problem." But then his tone shifted abruptly, his smile vanishing instantly, his expression turning serious. He continued, "This year's new disciple competition is vastly different from before. What you must do is not merely to secure a top 10 spot. You must defeat all opponents and claim first place. This concerns which peak will merge with King Feng. It is of utmost importance." At the same time, this was why he spared no expense in vast resources to meticulously train Zhu Wuxia, and shamelessly proposed the rule to expand the range to 500 meters. Of course, the 9-mile Wind Peak master was fully confident that the 10,000 Sword Peak and the Ice Snow Peak had also prepared accordingly. Otherwise, they wouldn't have agreed so easily. Zhu Wuxia took a deep breath and said solemnly, "Wuxia will surely not disappoint the Peak Master's careful nurturing." The Ice Snow Peak Master was also giving earnest instructions. On the other side, Nang Ganju Zhu Wuxia is a dual cultivator. Juk Nan Zhu Wuxia is one in body, and I have received the senior brother's generous guidance. Over these past few months, you must have already awakened your resonance. He is different from you. You are an elemental body. You do not possess a powerful resonance, nor do you have shoulders as sharp as Mo Wei's. However, an elemental body also has its own advantages. The senior brother suggested expanding the range to 500 meters, which is actually a rare opportunity for you. You must seize it well. Lan nodded, his gaze locked onto Wanjian Peak. The current Wind Master gently patted Mo Wui's shoulder, without saying a word, because everything that needed to be said had already been spoken last night. Mo Wui nodded silently, his eyes filled with unwavering determination. Not long after, more and more people were entering the venue. Looking down from above, they formed a dense, sprawling mass, like a swarm of ants. All kinds of discussions buzzed incessantly, filling everyone's ears. Most of the topics revolved around the 3 prodigies. Yu Kingdom's radiance and Zyro Yu seemed to be completely absent from their conversations. Before long, Zhu Wuxia was the first to enter, clad in flowing white robes. Ethereal and otherworldly, his handsome features were a delight to behold. His eyes were bright and piercing. At first glance, he exuded the aura of a heaven-blessed genius, as if he did not belong to this mortal world. The disciples of Gli Peak erupted into a frenzy. Close behind him was Mo Wui. Though his appearance was ordinary, the intent within his body was exceptionally fierce, especially the blade at his back, which faintly radiated a powerful presence, oppressing all who sensed it. Next came Lan. Unlike the previous 2, he was not only plain in appearance, but the fluctuations of his aura were also quite ordinary. He did not seem like an elemental body, but rather an ordinary cultivator. The discussions grew even more heated. However, after the prodigies had all entered one by one, the Kingfeng disciple Wan Xiaoyu was still nowhere to be seen. The Wind Master of Gli Peak couldn't help but ask, "Where is the warm person?" The Wind Master of Wanjian Peak frowned. "Still not awake. Could it be that he's chickening out?" The Wind Master of Bingsu Peak looked up and said with doubt. Each of them had a prodigy in their hands, drawing much attention. Even before entering, they had already stirred up a commotion within the East Gate. Voices of praise rose and fell in succession. As Wing Masters themselves, they naturally basked in some of that glory. But as for King Feng's disciple Wan Xiaoyu, with his mediocre talent, lack of guidance, and no one to support him, even if he participated in the freshman competition, it would only be a laughable farce. Can he win? What right does he have to win? The merger of King Feng is already a foregone conclusion. The only thing the 3 peaks are competing for is the first place in the freshman competition to gain the qualification to merge King Feng. "He's here!" Someone suddenly shouted. 3 figures appeared on the path. Wan Xiaoyu's thin frame worked in front, laboriously pulling the old yellow ox. His delicate face was covered in sweat, and he kept muttering complaints under his breath. "Can you work any faster?" He sat leisurely on the ox's back, looking completely at ease, with a little black dog cradled in his arms. Seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but twitch their mouths. He really did. "Bring an ox here." The three wind masters exchanged knowing smiles, thinking only one thing, well. At first, when Chen Pingping suggested bringing a pet, they were full of surprise. Could it be that King Feng had raised a powerful beast? But upon careful thought, that possibility was extremely slim. Over these past few years, if King Feng had truly raised a beast, they would have known long ago. It must be that ox, or perhaps that little black duck. Now, it seemed exactly so. The last trace of worry in their hearts vanished instantly. The three wind masters were in high spirits. But Bailey Giantson, standing nearby, yet his face was full of utter despair, silently murmuring to his junior sister in his heart, "Senior brother, I did my best." He was deeply helpless. The distance grew closer and closer. Everyone noticed Guan Xiaoyu's attire, her white lawn dress. However, this dress was oversized, looking utterly ridiculous on him. Not only that, many parts seemed quite mismatched. The left and right sleeves were one big, one small, and the sash was uneven and crooked. Overall, it looked like a failed creation. When Wang Xiaoyu first saw this dress, he nearly had a big fight with his senior brother. "This is your most precious thing. Such a terrible dress, and you want me to wear it tomorrow for the freshman tournament?" "No way, Guan Xiaoyu would rather die than comply," I said earnestly. "Junior sister, now is not the time for your stubbornness. Tomorrow's freshman tournament, you must secure one of the top 10 spots. Otherwise, our King Feng sect will be forced to merge. With Master away, I have no other choice." Guan Xiaoyu stared with wide eyes. "This dress, what does it have to do with my fight tomorrow?" "Of course, on the surface, it's an ordinary dress, but in reality, it's a powerful armor," I said with a serious expression, speaking solemnly. "Armor? What kind of ridiculous joke is that? Since when does armor like this exist in the world?" Guan Xiaoyu expressed deep suspicion. "Senior brother, don't tell me this armor was stitched together by you, stitch by stitch. Clearly a shoddy piece of work. Trash among trash. Aside from those uncouth, rough-handed brutes, who else could have made such a thing? Oh no, even those brutes have some self-awareness. They wouldn't bother sewing a dress." I smiled and said, "Don't mind the details. Tahar, this King Feng sect is too ridiculous. They actually brought a cow to compete. Look at that dress. How did he even have the courage to wear it out? He's the comic relief of the cultivation world. Absolutely priceless." Voices of discussion rose and fell, and unrestrained, arrogant laughter rang out endlessly. Yet I turned a deaf ear, acting as if I saw nothing. I firmly believed that as long as Guang Xiaoyu could secure one of the top 10 spots, all the current mockery and ridicule would be utterly shattered, because overwhelming strength is the eternal, unchanging truth. For now, let them laugh to their heart's content. My face was calm as still water, as I held the little black dog and slowly worked toward the top of the square. At the top of the square, a crisp bronze bell suddenly rang out. In an instant, the entire square fell silent. A middle-aged man stepped forward and announced, clearly explaining some of the competition rules. Most principles remained unchanged, with only a few differences. Next came the battle format. A disciple from Jilai Peak would be sent out to accept a challenge from a disciple of Wanjin Peak. The victor would then face a challenge from a disciple of Bingsu Peak. Finally, it would be King Feng's turn. The order was Jilai Peak, Wanjin Peak, Bingsu Peak, King Feng Peak. That meant every 3 rounds, that Peak had to send out a disciple to battle. The loser would lose all qualifications, while the victor would advance to the next stage. Of course, one could also choose to continue fighting. Among the new generation of Wuji sect, there were over 200 people. After the first cycle, each peak had to undergo about 50 battles. Jilai Peak, Wanjin Peak, and Bingsu Peak were fine. They had many new disciples, and they were evenly distributed, but King Feng only had Guan Xiaoyu alone. This meant that in the first cycle, Guan Xiaoyu would have to endure 50 battles by himself. How difficult was that? It was incredibly difficult. 50 battles in the first cycle. After the second cycle, only about 100 people remained. 25 battles. After the third cycle, only a little over 50 people remained. After about 12 rounds of battles, by the fourth cycle, only a little over 20 remained. In other words, if Guan Xiaoyu wanted to secure a top 10 spot, he would have to go through 3 cycles of battles. Nearly 90 matches in total. And in those 90 matches, he could not afford to lose a single one. How utterly unfair was that? But Guan Xiaoyu never believed that fairness existed in this world. Because he was the demon emperor, I silently watched his junior sister. "This is your first trial. Win or lose, your senior brother will stand firmly behind you." The only thing worth celebrating was that not all the new disciples had already stepped into the breaking sheep realm. Guan Xiaoyu's strength at the 5th level of breaking sheep was enough to crush over 80% of the new disciples. In those 90 matches, he only needed to take about 20 of them seriously. The battle began. year after year, but that resonant voice echoed across the square. The first combatant is a new disciple from GLI Peak. The challenger is a disciple from 10,000 Swords Peak. As the opening match of the new disciple tournament, the duel naturally drew everyone's attention. However, the match ended quickly. After all, the tournament had just begun. They wouldn't easily reveal their strongest cards. In the early rounds, those who fought were mostly new disciples who hadn't yet broken through to the breaking sheep realm. About 10 minutes later, it was finally King Feng's turn. The atmosphere on the scene suddenly shifted dramatically. Most people's gazes fell squarely on Guan Xiaoyu. On one hand, they were curious. Hadn't everyone said this little girl's talent was terrible? How had she broken through to the breaking sheep realm? On the other hand, they really wanted to see just how far Guan Xiaoyu could go. Wang Xiaoyu strode out boldly, shot a sideways glance at that fellow, and said coldly, "Just surrender." The young man was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help but shout, "We haven't even fought yet, and you want me to surrender? Isn't that going a bit too far? This little girl does have some skill at the 5th level of the breaking sheep realm, so in the early rounds, she'll crush many new disciples. But later on, it's hard to say." The middle-aged official announced loudly, "King Feng, Guan Xiaoyu wins. Next up, wait." Guan Xiaoyu decisively cut him off. "I choose to continue fighting." "Xiaoyu, don't you want to rest a bit?" The GLI Peak Master forced a smile. "You just fought a big battle. You must be tired, right?" That's right, that's right." The 10,000 Arrows Peak Master also quickly chimed in. The 3 Peak Masters' faces were as black as ink. "I sincerely hope to report to Master Chen. I think Xiaoyu doesn't quite understand the competition rules. He just finished a match. He's actually allowed to rest." The 3 Peaks actually had another option: to send a genius disciple into the arena and directly eliminate Guan Xiaoyu. But here was a problem. Who dared to take that risk? What if that genius lost? Even if they didn't send a genius, choosing disciples around the 5th level of breaking sheep to fight Guan Xiaoyu was still an extremely risky move. After all, the number of high-end combatants was crucial for competing for first place in the latest stages. Right at this critical moment, Guan Xiaoyu threw a tantrum. The 3 Peak Masters grew restless, each offering kind advice, saying things like, "The tournament has just begun. You can take a rest first." They even explained in detail the drawbacks of consecutive battles and so on. I just smiled and said nothing. Guan Xiaoyu, meanwhile, was secretly rolling his eyes and thinking to himself, "Good thing my senior brother was prepared." With his straightforward nature, he naturally couldn't have come up with such a scheme. Because deep in the Demon Emperor's bones, there has never been such a thing as fear. Even facing 90 battles, he would only roar with boundless pride, "Come on. Kill me, or I'll crush every single one of you." Seeing the 3 Mad Lords' faces full of anxious urgency, he recalled his senior brother's instructions. "If the 3 Mad Lords don't want you to continue fighting, then make a demand." Guan Xiaoyu lifted his head and said with a grin, "Not continuing to fight is fine too." Hearing this, the 3 Mad Lords instantly fell silent, and all turned to look his way. He then coaxed, "Let me go straight into the 3rd round of battles. The first round eliminates 100, leaving 100 for the second round. In the second round, 50 win and 50 lose. In the third round, 25 win and 25 lose." I analyzed seriously. If nothing unexpected happens, the 3 Mad Lords, to preserve their high-end combat strength, will surely agree to this request. Because by the 3rd round of battles, almost all will be new disciples at the Broken Yang realm. And at that time, the 3 Mad Lords can send any disciple, and they'll be able to defeat you. Wang Xiaoyu was full of resentment. "Am I really that bad?" I replied with a smile. "This is what the 3 Mad Lords think. Even if you barely make it to the 4th round, you'll face even stronger new disciples. At that point, your elimination rate will be even higher. For the 3 Mad Lords, as long as you don't make it into the top 10, it's fine. So they'll choose to compromise, and will find ways to defeat you in the 3rd round, eliminating you, and the high-end combat strength they preserve, along with the geniuses, will then compete for the top 10, or even first place." Guan Xiaoyu suddenly understood, and the more he fought, the more shocked he felt, increasingly sensing that this dispirited senior brother before him was very unusual. Once this plan was set in motion, it would directly save him most of his battle rounds. "Brilliant. Senior brother is really clever," Guan Xiaoyu said with a smile. "So, can I not wear this dress? It's too ugly." I firmly refused. "No. I told you, it's a powerful armor. Though it hasn't fully formed yet, it can block most attacks below the soul level. So, keep it up." Guan Xiaoyu snorted dismissively, feeling in his heart that his senior brother was insulting his intelligence. After he made this request, the entire venue erupted in uproar. Many young people were discussing among themselves, thinking he was talking nonsense like a fool dreaming. Yet, after a brief deliberation, the three mad lords surprisingly agreed to his request. Wang Xiaoyu grinned, striding the laundress, and pulling the old yellow ox, he slowly walked to the side. As time quietly passed, soon it was noon. The first round of battles finally came to an end. Then came the second round, which also ended quickly. Many new disciples who hadn't broken through the Yang realm were eliminated. The bronze bell tolled again, deep and resonant, signaling that the third round of battles was about to begin. Wan Xiaorui chuckled and lifted his head, somehow feeling a strange sense of anticipation. Indeed, earlier he had felt quite displeased that the mighty demon emperor had to fight a bunch of little brats. Next, King Feng Wan Xiaorui versus Bingsu Feng Liugi. The middle-aged announcer's voice suddenly rang out. At the fifth formation, Bailey Jansen couldn't help but ask, Chen Shizhe, who gave him that wooden sword in his hand? The three mad lords beside him all pricked up their ears, listening intently. I replied with a smile. I smiled, and the three mad lords exchanged glances, still saying, it's settled. Soon it was Guan Xiaoyu's turn again. His opponent was a cultivator at the third level of Broken Yang, but compared to him who was at the fifth level of Broken Yang, there was still a gap. Guan Xiaoyu raised the wooden sword, and without hesitation swung it out. Within that wooden sword, actually, strands of sword intent began to slowly condense. He was stunned. Bailey Jansen keenly courted. Frowning deeply, the three wind lords' eyelids twitched. They looked at me and asked, Chen Shizhe, has he cultivated the sword Dao? I replied, no, he only cultivated one cultivation technique. I see. The 10,000 Swords Wind Lord secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Yet, in the third round of the third match, Wang Xiaoyu, when facing a cultivator at the fifth level of Breaking Yang, actually unleashed a series of sword intents with overwhelming momentum. The wooden sword hummed all around. A dawn-breaking force suddenly erupted. That fellow at the fifth level of Breaking Yang was instantly struck down. He was completely stunned. Everyone in the square was utterly dumbfounded. The 10,000 Swords Wind Lord stared wide-eyed and exclaimed, Chen Shizhe, didn't you say he hadn't cultivated the sword Dao? At that moment, Bailey Jansen couldn't help but ask, Chen Shizhe, who gave him that wooden sword in his hand? Soon it was Guan Xiaoyu's turn again. His opponent was a cultivator at the third level of Broken Yang, but compared to him who was at the fifth level of Broken Yang, there was still a gap. Yet, in the third round of the third match, within this short span of half a year, the young girl Guan Xiaoyu, with extremely poor talent, has actually stepped into the fifth level of Breaking Yang. Remember, King Feng took her in as a new disciple. Although King Feng is willing to invest resources, it's understandable to push through a few realms. But the sword Dao is different. The sword Dao requires comprehension and diligent practice. Without a certain talent for the sword Dao, one must spend a great deal of time cultivating before one can unleash sword intent. Yet she has poor aptitude and mediocre talent. How on earth did she wield sword intent? The 10,000 Swords Wind Lord could hardly believe his own eyes. He was utterly stunned. But I said calmly, the technique left by our master is quite peculiar. Its Dao methods encompass everything. It's understandable that my junior sister inadvertently unleashed sword intent. It's excusable. But it was sword intent born of luck. Next time, it may not appear so coincidentally. Is that really so? The 10,000 Swords Wind Lord was full of doubt. When the fourth battle began, Wang Xiaoyu suddenly swung her sword. Vast sword intent instantly surged forth. He was completely shocked. The 10,000 Swords Wind Lord stood frozen on the spot. Born of luck, whose luck have you ever seen? Without cultivating the sword Dao, still able to unleash such powerful sword intent repeatedly. Bailey Jansen, the Ice Snow Wind Lord, the Nine Lai Wind Lord, and the 10,000 Swords Wind Lord, once again turned their gazes to me. I raised an eyebrow, and said, my junior sister's luck is really too good. Fortunately, Wan Xiaoyu didn't hear this. Otherwise, she would have angrily retorted, it's not my fault. The moment I grabbed the wooden sword, a powerful sword intent, can't wait to burst out. I can't stop it even if I want to. He seriously suspected the wooden sword concealed sword intent. But wasn't it just an ordinary wooden sword? Mo Wuwei's strong sword Dao heart suddenly trembled violently. Not only that, the ice blade behind him shook incessantly. He recalled the earlier scene. So the ice blade hadn't wanted to fight, but was afraid. This little girl is no simpleton. On the other side, Juge Wushun stared intently at the battlefield. Compared to Mo Wuwei's anxiety, he appeared relatively composed. The Wind Lord had also expanded the battlefield to 500 meters. For him, this was undoubtedly a huge advantage. Under such a significant advantage, even facing any genius, he could fight with calm composure. even against this mysterious and eerie little girl. Nangenjiro squinted and said, powerful sword intent. But I have armor on me. Your wooden sword can't break it. John Nine just snapped back to reality and shouted loudly, King Feng disciple Guan Ziroi wins. Bailey Jansen couldn't help but ask, Chen Shizhe, what technique does he cultivate? Just a high-level cultivation technique. I said slowly, the one our master left before leaving. What's its name? Sanking. The three wind lords immediately grew uneasy. With Guan Ziroi cultivating such a technique, combined with her strength at the 5th level of the Poyan realm, in the battles of the 3rd cycle, eliminating her would be no easy task. As for the battle rounds of the 3rd cycle, only a few matches remained. In other words, to eliminate Guan Ziroi, they had to be fully prepared for the upcoming fights. Unfortunately, mere seriousness seemed far from enough. If they didn't deploy their geniuses, they would only add to Guan Ziroi's record of victories. Next, Guan Ziroi won several matches in a row. The three Madlords panicked. The 9-mile Madlord secretly transmitted a message. In the wetlands, Ice and Snow Wind must show some real skill. The 10,000 Arrows Windlord quickly transmitted back. Right, we can't let this girl enter the 4th round. Otherwise, she might very well break through our defensive line and charge into the top 10. So I propose, let your Ice and Snow Wind's Duke Nan confront Guan Ziroi. The Ice and Snow Wind Lord rolled his eyes and said indignantly, why don't you let Mo Wuwei fight? At worst, I'll forfeit that match and let Mo Wuwei advance to face Guan Ziroi. The 10,000 Swords Wind Lord stamped his foot in anger. That girl has cultivated a formidable technique. With such profound sword intent, you want Mo Wuwei to fight, only if he can defeat Guan Ziroi. He nearly spat blood. Judging from Guan Ziroi's earlier burst of sword intent, Mo Wuwei's swordsmanship can't compare to hers. The only thing he can rely on is probably his 3rd-grade weapon, Ice Seal. He then transmitted, Duke Nan is a physical attribute cultivator, with a body-tempering cultivation. His wooden sword can't break through Duke Nan's physical defense. He can win. Besides, don't think I don't know. You gave that armor to Duke Nan too. No way, the Ice and Snow Wind Lord firmly refused. If Duke Nan loses, what will my Ice and Snow Wind use to compete for 1st place? Ever Genius is a trump card. Moreover, it's the key to the 3 winds vying for 1st place. At a time like this, 2 would foolishly reveal their hand. Not to mention whether they can beat Guan Ziroi. What if their strength gets drained? Wouldn't that just benefit the other 2 winds? Negotiations failed. The 3 Mad Lords fell silent, none of them bothering with each other. Soon, the final match arrived. The middle-aged referee announced loudly, Guan Jianfeng's disciple, Wu Dahai, versus King Feng's disciple, Guan Ziroi. Begin now. If Guan Ziroi wins this match, she will advance to 4th place. However, after several consecutive battles, her condition had clearly declined. Her face was pale as paper, and her eyes were no longer as clear and bright. Many noticed this. Wu Dahai sneered, I'm at the 6th level of Po Yang. You should surrender. It seemed a turning point had come. The 3 wind lords remained expressionless, but inwardly rejoiced. Guan Ziroi was in poor condition, while Wu Dahai was at his peak. Not only that, he was also a minor realm above her. This was undoubtedly a perfect opportunity. He rolled his eyes and said distinctly, why should I surrender? You're in bad shape. Your Danshin is too depleted. Plus, I'm a minor realm above you. In this match, you're bound to lose. Wu Dahai was full of confidence. Who told you I'm in bad shape? Guan Ziroi snorted dismissively. In fact, his internal condition was rapidly recovering, far faster than usual. It was just that with so many battles, the consumption was greater, spending more than he could replenish. But one thing was certain. This recovery must be related to his senior brother. It wasn't due to the Wan Kai transforming 3 purities. The wooden sword or that ox body, the skirt he wore on his upper body, was merely a piece of armor. It didn't have such a function. He glanced up at his senior brother above, seeing his face as calm as still water. Admit defeat, Wu Dahai, his tone indifferent. The 3 sect masters smiled. They smiled so wide they couldn't close their mouths. But the next moment, Guan Ziroi quickly pulled out a spirit pill. Without hesitation, he swallowed it in one gulp. In just a few breaths of time, his condition instantly returned to its peak. The smiles of the 3 sect masters froze instantly. If they weren't mistaken, that spirit pill was a spirit pill beyond the high-grade category. 3rd grade, 4th grade, or 5th grade. Such a priceless spirit pill, even they couldn't produce one. How could a small King Feng sect possibly have it? That little girl didn't even blink, just ate it straight up. What a waste. Guan Ziroi revealed a brilliant smile. Alright, now you're only 1 minor realm above me. But it didn't matter. Huabai rushed over with a wooden sword in a flurry. Her lawn skirt billowing, fluttering in the wind. Indescribably ethereal, yet also somewhat comical. Wu Dahai snapped back to reality, gritted his teeth, and erupted with full force. Though he couldn't unleash sword intent, his sword was immensely heavy. He swung it head-on, confident he could injure Guan Xiaoyu, unless he retreated. But to his surprise, Guan Xiaoyu didn't even prepare to defend. His great iron sword struck Guan Xiaoyu's frail body, with a clang and sparks flying. It was actually blocked by the tattered, worn-out dress. Wu Dahai was utterly dumbfounded. What's going on? Wu Dahai couldn't help but panic. His fierce, powerful strike was actually blocked by a shabby, unsightly dress. Good heavens! Guan Xiaoyu's eyes instantly blazed with intensity, staring fixedly at the bulging dress. This is actually a protective armor. Senior brother is amazing. I've never seen such a peculiar armor. It wasn't forged with care, but sewn together stitch by stitch. Wen Mu's sword slashed down repeatedly, with overwhelming force. No less than a cultivator at the 6th level of Breaking Ocean. With a crush, Wu Dahai was viciously sent flying. Martial intent. This is definitely martial intent. The 10,000 Sword Peak Master's eyes turned red. Guan Xiaoyu has never trained in sword techniques. How could he unleash such a powerful sword strike? Zai remain calm. It's still the cultivation method, right? The Sword Peak Master gritted his teeth. Fine, even if it's the cultivation method. What about that high-grade spirit pill? Extremely deadly. A small Qingfeng sect actually possesses a high-grade spirit pill. But as soon as he said that, he regretted it. What others eat is none of your business. If you have the skill, let your 10,000 Sword Peak's new disciples also eat. A few. Standing nearby, said with a smile. The spirit pills were given by the master. Though extremely precious, there's no helping it. My Qingfeng sect must secure a ranking. The drunken Peak Master chuckled awkwardly. May I ask, Master Chen's little junior sister? Does he still have such spirit pills? A thought stirred in his heart. Not many left. The master said spirit pills are only for his own people. The moment the words fell, and the battlefield, Guan Xiaoyu smugly pulled out a large pile of spirit pills, and looked at Wu Dahai arrogantly, saying, "See, how could my condition be bad?" Wu Dahai's eyes bulged wide, and he fainted on the spot. No one expected that the most underestimated Guan Xiaoyu would successfully break into the 4th round of combat. His fighting style was utterly baffling. He wielded a wooden sword, able to unleash powerful sword intent, could casually pull out a pile of spirit pills, and his dress was a formidable protective armor. Everyone in the 3 peaks couldn't sit still. The several sect masters above the square, their faces instantly stiffened. Bailey Jansen smiled faintly, racking his brains in thought. How to trick some spirit pills out of me. Over the years, the junior sister has refined quite a few pills. Not bad. Wen Yuking is the only alchemist of the Wuji sect. 4th round, 25 people remaining. As long as Guan Xiaoyu wins 3 more matches, the top 10 will be secure. As for the later rankings, they don't really matter, given the current situation. Aside from those 3 prodigies, almost no one can defeat Guan Xiaoyu. After waiting about half an hour, finally, it was Guan Xiaoyu's turn again. His opponent was Nanganju from the Ice Snow Peak, possessing the wind attribute. The battlefield range expanded to 500 meters. For him, this was undoubtedly a huge advantage. Guan Xiaoyu curled his lips and thought to himself, finally willing to let your prodigies fight, ta. Too bad, it's all too late. He had already entered the 4th round. Win 3 more matches and he'd be in the top 10. No way to stop him. Those 3 wind masters really are slow to react. They sure have a lot of hitting cards, but none of that works on me. Zhuge Lan remained confident, not just because of his own attribute limb, but also because he was 3 minor realms higher, above the 8th level of Crossing Yang. The Ice Snow Wind Master narrowed his eyes, smiled lightly. This time, he should be able to defeat Guan Xiaoyu. Clearly, he had a trump card. To be precise, he had given Nanganju a trump card, the powerful neck guard, capable of blocking all attacks below the soul level, combined with his own attribute limb. Once he went all out, would Guan Xiaoyu even have a chance to fight back? The Earthbound 10,000 Arrows Wind Master was one short. You really were willing to give him that? The Ice Snow Wind Master sneered inwardly. Aren't you two the same? This freshman tournament is no ordinary event. It determines who gets to merge the clear win. Thus, the 3 Wind Masters had all placed heavy bets on their respective prodigies. 9 Mile Wind and 10,000 Sword Peak were no exception. The only thing that unsettled them was that Fang Xiaoyu had managed to break into the 4th round. If he kept winning, their plan to merge the clear wind would be completely ruined. The last 3 matches, also the last 3 chances. Nanganju opened his eyes wide, casually curled his lips ready. Below, Mo Wuwei smiled lightly. Looks like he's about to be eliminated. Too bad I won't get to fight him. Not far away, Zhuge Wuxuan glanced at him, and said nothing. In the battlefield, Nanganju immediately activated his wind attribute at full power. Power surged wildly within him. The wind around him rose rapidly, carrying immense force, truly formidable. He worked forward slowly with a smile. Seeing this, everyone was stunned. The crowd instantly held their breath. Only one fort echoed in their minds, truly a prodigy. But that eruption was quickly suppressed. A vast, overwhelming force suddenly spread out, like a towering mountain pressing down. His forward steps froze. The power within him could no longer circulate. The fierce wind vanished instantly. The armor on his body barely flickered before going dark. Duke Nan's smile froze. Such overwhelming power. An elder's face was full of shock. This force was ruthlessly suppressing Duke Nan. Even Guan Xiaorui was baffled. He turned to look at his own senior brother, still as calm as still water. Finally, Guan Xiaorui's gaze fell on Old Yellow Ox. The more he looked, the more something felt off. But he had no solid proof. He was too calm. His eyes were clear, full of spirit. After a brief moment of confusion, he quickly snapped back to focus, raised his wooden sword and struck without hesitation. Duke Nan, suppressed by that immense force, had no power to fight back, could only watch helplessly as the strike came down. His eyes bulged wide. Guan Xiaorui grinned. Next one, everyone was speechless. Short. What's wrong with this junior brother? The scene was rather strange. Though no one knew where that power came from, everyone understood clearly. It was connected to Guan Xiaorui. So overwhelmingly powerful, it even surpassed the soul realm. How could they possibly fight this? Senior brother Chen, don't tell me that power was unleashed by Guan Xiaorui. Wanjin Peak's master said darkly. Clearly something was off. But he had no evidence either. I put on an innocent face. I don't know. Could he have cultivated a forbidden technique? Gli Peak's master said indignantly. Impossible. I was astonished with so many people here, including several elders. If it were a forbidden technique, wouldn't you all have noticed? Gli Peak's master shut up instantly. That argument was too reasonable. Bailey Giantson held back a smile and said, all right, no matter what. Xiaorui won, that's an indisputable fact. Next match, in the battlefield, Guan Xiaorui grinned and walked over to Old Yellow Ox, blinking as he whispered, Old Yellow, was that you? Old Yellow Ox rolled his eyes at him. It was indeed. Guan Xiaorui's eyes burned with intense excitement. A livestock had become a spirit. King Feng, too, was usually silent and reserved, had just taught everyone a harsh lesson. Guan Xiaorui's abysmal talent and aptitude had somehow brought him this far. Clearly, the resources provided by King Feng were indispensable. The new disciples who had once given up on joining King Feng were now filled with regret. But unfortunately, there was no turning back in this world. And in this grand tournament, the most aggrieved were the three princesses, too careless. If they had taken him seriously from the start, fully utilizing the competition rules to wear down Guan Xiaorui, they might have eliminated him. The plan to merge King Feng easily could have gone smoothly. But now, the tournament was growing increasingly strange. The immense strength Guan Xiaorui displayed, along with all those bizarre things on him, was no longer something their geniuses could contend with. How were they supposed to fight the last two matches? They had a vague feeling that even if Xu Zhuoxuan and Mo Wuwei joined forces, they might not be able to defeat Guan Xiaorui. For now, setting aside his spirit pills and the group of armor guards, that mysterious power that had just appeared was enough to easily crush the two geniuses. This was simply not a battle on the same level. Gli Peak's master couldn't help but sigh inwardly. What can be done about this? Wanjin Peak's master transmitted his voice. Gli Peak's master said gloomily, maybe we should just give up. Bingsu Peak's master instantly showed anger. Two senior brothers. Are you joking? The geniuses on my side have already lost, and you're saying we should give up? If that's not a betrayal, what is? In the upcoming matches, what could Bingsu Peak rely on to compete for first place? Gli Peak's master chuckled lightly, transmitting his voice, junior brother, don't be hasty. Just look at the strength Guan Xiaorui has shown. Do you think, among the new generation, there's anyone who can defeat him? Wanjin Peak's master quickly chimed in. Yes, the plan to merge King Feng easily. It's probably impossible to continue as is. But then Gli Peak's master changed his tone, squinting his eyes. Hearing this, the two Peak masters' eyes lit up. It was 2 years ago. The current Grand National Master of the Stone Kingdom brought a little girl to Wuji sect, claiming to fulfill an agreement between elders. It was probably about the previous Grand National Master and the previous sect master of Wuji sect. Some old grudge between them. Both sides agreed that at a specific time, they would select two outstanding young people to duel. At the time, the little girl brought by the Stone Kingdom's Grand National Master was still young and hadn't even started cultivating. So the agreement was set for 3 years later, which is next year. Gli Peak's master chuckled slyly. Why not let Guan Xiaorui take first place? It's now the autumn season. Only a few months remain until next year. By then, Wuji sect will have to send out its most outstanding young disciple, to the 10 kingdoms for the jewels. And from what they understand, the little girl brought by the Grand Scala 2 years ago is a genuine divine body. Among the new generation of Wuji sect, there's simply no one who can match her. Mu Wuwei can't do it. Blue Duke can't either. As for Zhuge Wuxuan, there's no need to mention him. But Guan Xiaorou might just be the one. He is so outstanding. 10,000 Swords Peak Lord laughed. Senior brother, this scheme of using a borrowed knife to kill. Truly brilliant. What nonsense are you spouting? Senior brother is thinking of the sect's welfare. Ice and Snow Peak Lord said. Guan Xiaorou, such an exceptional young man, will surely be able to defeat Qi Kingdom's divine body for our Wuji sect. There's no doubt about that. Since we can't eliminate Guan Xiaorou and can't merge Clear Wind, then let him die in Qi Kingdom. Once Guan Xiaorou is dead, Clear Wind will have no successor. At that point, what can Chen Pingping say? And what reason will the sect leader have to argue against us? Clear Wind will be empty of disciples, only wasting the sect's resources. Then let him become even more outstanding. 10,000 Swords Peak Lord said with a smile. Before destroying a person, you must first let them swell with pride. Ice and Snow Peak Lord winked. This time, first place in the new disciple competition is undoubtedly his. With this decision made, the 3 Peak Lords became decisive. In every subsequent match against Guan Xiaorou, they secretly issued orders. Surrender as soon as you step onto the stage. Don't ask why. After several matches in a row, Guan Xiaorou directly entered the top 5. He frowned, looking at the person before him, and said, "Are you going to surrender too?" That young man nodded, and said helplessly, "Yes." "Can you tell me why?" Guan Xiaorou asked. "You've broken through to the Yankai Heavy Heaven stage. You actually have a chance to defeat me. My current condition is far from ideal." Hearing the word condition, the young man's mouth twitched. "I can't beat you." With that, he left the stage. In the end, only 3 remained. Mo Wuwei, Zhuge Wuxuan, and Guan Xiaorou. This was the fierce battle for the top 3. Mo Wuwei and Zhuge Wuxuan fought first. No Wuwei won. But when facing Guan Xiaorou, he chose to forfeit without hesitation. On Guan Xiaorou's clean, handsome face was written, "I knew it." He pursed his lips and said nothing more, dragging his lawn robes, pulling Old Yellow Ox, and turning to leave. Deep within Wuji's sect, Bailey Jansen summoned the 3 Peak Lords. He looked down at them for a full 10 minutes, his eyes full of doubt. Why give up on him? He was utterly perplexed. "Speak," Bailey Jansen began. "Since you can't merge Clear Wind, aren't you disappointed?" Sect leader's senior brother. "Absolutely not." Nine Lai Peak Lord raised his head and said, "Yes. At first, we did want to merge Clear Wind. After all, Clear Wind has only one disciple, yet it occupies most of the resources. But the moment we saw Guan Xiaorou, that fort completely vanished. He is simply too outstanding." Indeed, Guan Xiaorou is our Wuji sect's its most outstanding young disciple. There's no doubt about that. Ice and Snow Peak Lord said. "So I think there's no need to merge Clear Wind at all." "I agree," 10,000 Swords Peak Lord echoed. Sect leader's senior brother. "Everything we've said comes from the heart." "Really?" Bailey Jansen's expression was skeptical. "Really?" the 3 answered in unison. Since that was the case, Guan Xiaorou has clearly entered the top 10. King Feng has at least secured the subsequent matches. "Why did you give up on Bai Lai Giant-san? Didn't you ask about the curse?" The Ice Snow sect master was deeply frustrated. "The genius under my sect didn't even get a chance to make a move." Sect leader's senior brother. "Do you think Mo Wuwei can defeat him? Or do you believe Zhuge Wuxuan's movement technique can do it?" That actually sounds somewhat reasonable. Bai Lai Jiansen pondered for a moment. He no longer doubted his cultivation. Jiu Lai Fengju stated firmly, "Who can display their competitive skills in front of all the high-ranking experts of the Wuji sect?" Wan Jian Fengju said. "Guan Xiaorou's excellence is evident to all. We admit defeat wholeheartedly." The Ice Snow sect master agreed. "For the Wuji sect to have a young talent like Guan Xiaorou is a great fortune that our sect hasn't seen in 100 years. Bai Lai Jiansen rolled his eyes. Let's go. Hurry up and leave." As the senior disciple, he knew his 3 junior brothers' temperaments and characters all too well. They would never admit defeat so easily. Even if Guan Xiaorou had already entered the top 10, there must be some trick behind this. After the 3 Wind Lords left, the eldest standing nearby finally spoke up. Could it be because of the agreement with the Grand Master of the Qi Kingdom? Bai Lai Jiansen's face darkened. That damn senior brother is utterly infuriating. Just a few spirit pills, and he wouldn't even give them to me. HMPH, back in the day, I had as many spirit pills as I wanted. I could even eat 9th grade spirit pills as snacks. And now he wants to take back even that tattered old robe. Unacceptable. Guan Xiaorou kept muttering curses under his breath. He secretly resolved that once his cultivation was restored, he would definitely suppress that senior brother in a latrine for 10,000 years. Not a single year less. But for now, he had to endure humiliation and focus on cultivation. After all, he was only at the 5th level of the body refining realm. He still had to rely on his senior brother in many ways. Night fell. He sneaked into the cowshed and carefully sensed the spiritual energy surrounding the old yellow ox. It was indeed much denser than elsewhere. This ox was truly extraordinary. Seeing him approach, the old yellow ox let out a few low moos, as if signaling him to leave quickly and not disturb its rest. Wanzairoyu immediately broke into a grin. We fought side by side during the day, and now you're already rejecting me. Leaving? Not a chance. Since this old yellow ox had such a remarkable gathering effect, he was determined to stay in this cowshed no matter what. He wondered if his senior brother even knew how special this old yellow ox was. Wanzairoyu rested his chin on his hand, deep in thought. Meanwhile, I was about to fall asleep, when I was suddenly jolted awake by the system's voice. System notification. A descendant of the primordial phoenix has appeared outside the Shi Kingdom's borders. Please proceed immediately to the Shi Kingdom, and tame the descendant of the primordial phoenix. A mission has arrived. Let's accomplish it together. I carefully examined this mission. Shi Kingdom, descendant of the primordial phoenix, inside the cowshed. The gathering effect was remarkable. The circulation of the heavenly cycle was accelerating rapidly. At this rate, within half a year I would successfully step into the soul realm. Wanzairoyu couldn't help but chuckle darkly. Over the past few days, he had taken the initiative to care for the old yellow ox's daily needs, feeding it, bathing it, and sleeping right in the cowshed at night. The longer they spent together, the more he felt this old yellow ox was extraordinary. It was incredibly intelligent. Its eyes seemed to speak of deep emotions. Yet it was clearly just an ordinary livestock with a gathering effect, showing no spiritual energy fluctuations within its body. Old yellow, do you even know you're an ox? Why are you staring at me like that? Don't be so fierce. From now on, you'll follow me, not my senior brother. He's just an ordinary man. He can't give you the fortune you seek. Trust me, and right. Wanzairoyu patiently coaxed the ox. Just then, Bai Lai Jiansan happened to walk by and saw this scene. He was stunned for a moment. Then his face darkened with anger. In the hillside, a man and an ox, one grazing leisurely, the other chattering endlessly. This scene was all too familiar. Wasn't this exactly how Chen Pinping used to live? Bailey Jiansan worked over quickly. Zairoyu, what exactly are you doing? He was deeply pained. It's one thing that Chen Pinping doesn't cultivate diligently, but he actually dares to try and lead Wanzairoyu astray. He is the only hope of Qingfeng. Good morning, Sec Master Uncle. Wanzairoyu turned back and said, I'm feeding the ox. Bailey Jiansan's face instantly turned livid. Zairoyu, although your talent is somewhat lacking, you can still cultivate. Compared to that useless senior brother of yours, you are far too outstanding. So, leave this ox-feeding business to your senior brother. Alright. What kind of torque is that? How could I let my senior brother do it? I just built a deep bond with old Huang. Come here, I have something to tell you. Bailey Jiansan said helplessly. He then slowly recounted the agreement between the Limitless Sect and the Stone Kingdom. He then coaxed, of course, I will fully respect your opinion. If you don't want to go to the Stone Kingdom, that's fine too. Wanzairoyu raised an eyebrow and asked, and what did my senior brother say? Bailey Jiansan replied, he said it's up to you. Sure enough, not a single man under heaven is reliable. I just made great contributions to Qingfeng, and now I'm abandoned by my senior brother. How infuriating. Wanzairoyu thought it over and asked, so, are there any rewards? Bailey Jiansan said, no, but the master might have something. Behind this jewel, there might be a great opportunity hidden. Wanzairoyu hesitated. Think carefully. That one from the Stone Kingdom is a divine body. Bailey Jiansan said in a grave tone. Wanzairoyu sneered inwardly. I'm the Demon Emperor. Suppressing a divine body is naturally no trouble at all. If there were no rewards or great opportunities, he certainly wouldn't go. He wouldn't even bother to look. However, the words great opportunity deeply attracted him. Wanzairoyu nodded decisively. I'll go. You can take more time to think it over, Bailey Jiansan said. The jewel is set for next year. There are still several months. No need. He shook his head firmly. Are you sure? Bailey Jiansan's expression turned solemn. Sure. Since you've made your choice, as the sect master, I will fully support you. In the coming months, you can come to me with any problem, including cultivation, he said earnestly. Wanzairoyu loved hearing that. He immediately became excited. Just casually give me a few tens of thousands of spirit stones, and a few hundred spirit tills. After returning to Qingfeng, he found a letter in his room. The content was very simple, cultivate well, Take care of old Huang. Go to the Stone Kingdom. Guan Xiaoyu instantly lost his composure. Could it be that senior brother plans to secretly go to the duel? A dispirited mortal, for my sake, actually disregarding his own life, going to challenge a divine body. How touching. I really run my senior brother. In the northern outskirts of the Stone Kingdom, lies a vast and broken mountain range, called Salt Mountain. The trees in the mountains tower to the sky, the paths twist and turn, and thick vines coil wildly. At first glance, it looks like an untamed primeval forest. Deep within Salt Mountain dwell many powerful fierce beasts. Ordinarily, few people venture there. Because of this, however, in recent days, people have been flocking to Salt Mountain. The reason? Half a month ago, a cultivator training in Salt Mountain was startled to see, deep within, a spirit beast breathing in the essence of the sun and moon. He was instantly stunned. How many years had it been since the Stone Kingdom last saw a spirit beast? When he tried to tame the spirit beast, it vanished in a flash, running off without a trace. That spirit beast, however, vanished in a flash, and fled without a trace. The cultivator was overwhelmed with excitement, hastily returning to the city to seek help, but the news inadvertently leaked out, drawing a massive crowd of cultivators swarming in. Yu Chang'an was utterly frustrated, wondering which bastard had let it slip. Did you get a clear look at the spirit beast's form? The young woman beside him asked softly. Zhu Hen was large, wreathed in flames. He tried to recall, then what? The flames obscured my vision. I truly couldn't see clearly. Yu Chang'an shook his head helplessly, glancing back at the lineup behind him. He couldn't help but say, seeing his sister, are you sure that the few of us contain that spirit beast? Why not? The young woman's expression was calm. Deep within her dark pupils shone immense confidence, for she was the embodiment. Xianxia halted his steps, frowning deeply. No matter what, I am determined to claim this spirit beast. Deep within the Salt Mountain, I have slain countless powerful beasts, chasing all the way down. But that spirit beast was swift and extremely wary. Every time it heard a sound, it fled at once, never giving me the slightest chance. Woof woof woof. The little black dog suddenly raised its head, barking wildly ahead. I looked up at the water's surface. A common chicken came into view. In appearance, it was no different from an ordinary fowl, except its eyes were brimming with spiritual intelligence. But now, the chicken's eyes were filled with anxiety, running while glancing back, as if something behind was relentlessly pursuing it. I couldn't help but laugh. Soon, he noticed me and the dog, suddenly frozen in place, yet a powerful beast was charging from behind, leaving him no time to think further. Cluck cluck cluck. The chicken cried out a few times, then dove straight into my arms. The little black dog wagged its head, and circled around him joyfully. My tone was cold. The chicken didn't budge, thinking secretly, you want me to move? I won't. The next moment, I lifted it up directly, saying, for the past half month, you've led me deep into this place. If I didn't have some strength, I'd have been devoured by beasts long ago. Very well. The descendant of the primordial phoenix is indeed something. Now that you're being hunted by a beast, you want to use me as a shield and slip away. This human cultivator is truly strange. He ran for half a month, deliberately choosing territories of powerful beasts, yet still couldn't shake me off. Not only that, he even saw through my identity at a glance, and saw through this scheme. The chicken couldn't help but panic. I casually tossed it aside. I won't pamper you just because you're a spirit beast, or because of our system task, and help you fend off enemies. Absolutely not. I, Chen, have my dignity too. Several figures arrived from afar in an instant. In the blink of an eye, they stood before me. The arrivals were none other than Xianxia of Yuanwu Academy, Yu Chang'an, and several academy disciples. Greetings, fellow cultivator. Chang'an stepped forward. May I ask if you've seen a beast covered in flames? I smiled and said, I have. I casually glanced at Xianxia, thinking to myself, this girl is quite beautiful. Yu Chang'an's expression stiffened. He urgently asked, where? It was right here just now. By now, it's probably far away. I pointed in the direction the chicken fled. Thank you. Yu Chang'an nodded in thanks, and the group hurried away. Not long after, from the chicken's direction came a earth-shaking roar. A powerful beast had awakened, sensing the spirit beast's aura fluctuations. The beast sprinted swiftly. Cluck cluck cluck. The chicken panicked, backing away repeatedly. Its tiny wings flapped desperately, moving as fast as lightning. Soon, it returned to my side. I stood up, holding the little black dog in one arm. With his other hand, he lifted the wild chicken by its wing. He dashed swiftly out of Salt Mountain. Half an hour later, they left Salt Mountain behind. A man, a dog, and a chicken stepped into an ancient town. I hoisted the chicken up, and said with a laugh, in the primordial clan region, experts are as numerous as hairs on an ox. Any one of them could suppress you with ease. If you don't want to be eaten, you'd best not try to escape, because it's very likely you'll expose yourself. Even if you're fast, understand. The wild chicken cursed loudly. Cluck cluck cluck. It was so furious it could spit blood. Didn't this old lady end up in this danger because of you? How utterly infuriating. But as a descendant of the primordial phoenix, it wouldn't yield so easily. The wild chicken stared wide-eyed, sizing up this human region. It had thought that even if human experts were many, they couldn't be everywhere, right? But who could have guessed? Once it sensed the surroundings, it was terrified. In this tiny ancient town, there was actually a large group of Taikshu and mirror experts. Outside the ancient town, a deafening roar landed on the ground. It was an enormous cyan wolf, fully 2 meters tall, its body a pure, untainted cyan. 2 razor-sharp fangs were terrifyingly long. Its demonic eyes were especially chilling. It slowly approached from afar, and the wolf's back, a young man sat cross-legged, his face handsome and elegant, clad in extraordinarily luxurious robes. One glance was enough to tell, he was a young master from a great clan. Soon, the cyan wolf stepped into the ancient town. The young man on the wolf's back slowly opened his eyes, a wild smile curling at the corner of his mouth. A spirit beast that must be this young master's prize. He exuded supreme confidence, even bordering on arrogance. As soon as the many cultivators in the ancient town saw him, their expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly scattered, not daring to come near. He was the youngest prince of the Shi kingdom Shi, worth 10 billion. He had begun cultivation very early. Thanks to the abundant resources of the Shi royal family, he had already reached the Poyang realm by his teens. Now, his cultivation stood at the 3rd level of the Soul realm, far ahead of many his age. Not only that, his mount, the cyan wolf, was a 3rd-tier demon beast, immensely powerful. Combined with his noble lineage, within the 10 kingdoms, almost no one dared to provoke him. Yet, the cyan wolf, which had been so fierce and aggressive, after stepping into the ancient town, suddenly became restless and uneasy. Its massive body trembled incessantly, even its eyes did the same. It kept backing away, as if sensing some terrifying presence, not daring to stay any longer. Ji frowned. Cyan wolf, what are you doing? Woo, the cyan wolf growled lowly. You want to leave? Ji was astonished. Are you afraid? A 3rd-tier demon beast, so powerful that even facing the Grand National Teacher, it had never shown the slightest fear. It had always been full of momentum. But now it was terrified. In this tiny ancient town, what kind of thing could exist to make it so afraid? How interesting. Ji quickly guessed the answer. Most demon beasts are brutal and violent, bloodthirsty by nature, even when facing beings stronger than themselves. They rarely submit easily. But if it's a spirit beasts are creatures of heaven and earth, miraculous crystallizations of creation, themselves containing the great Dao. Every spirit beast's birth is the result of long years of accumulation. Not only that, the bloodline of a spirit beast has a natural suppression over demon beasts. This suppression is like a supreme ruler seated high above, gazing down upon the beings below. Even if this spirit beast's rank is low, Chi waved his hand, ordering the cyan wolf to retreat outside the ancient town. This ancient town was not large. Its geographical location was also quite remote. If not for the news spread by the Rock Mountain spirit beast, it would never have attracted so many powerful cultivators. Working through it took only 7 or 8 minutes. Ji did not notice anything amiss. Instead, it caught his attention. He carelessly remarked, "This chicken isn't bad." The chicken rolled its eyes, cursing inwardly, "You're the chicken. Your whole family are chickens. I'm a descendant of the primordial phoenix." Just then, suddenly, a violent tremor came from the direction of Rock Mountain, rumbling loudly. The entire mountain shook fiercely. Then a blaze of fire shot into the sky, and a vast, overwhelming demonic horde descended like a canopy. "It's the spirit beast. The spirit beast has appeared," someone cried out in panic. A large number of cultivators swiftly rushed out like lightning, heading out immediately. Xianxia and Qi were no exception. An enormous bird, its body ablaze with raging flames, suddenly let out a sharp, piercing cry. No one knew how far this sound carried. It circled high above Rock Mountain, its demonic eyes fixed on the ancient town, its gaze filled with mystery. With a whoosh, cultivators surged forward like a tide, unleashing powerful attacks one after another. Divine weapons gleamed with light, all eager to tame this spirit beast. But the great bird suddenly flapped its wings, and blazing flames rained down instantly. Screams of agony followed, as their bodies, like burning torches, plummeted straight to the ground. "Senior sister, this is not a spirit beast." Yu Cheng'an noticed something off. After all, spirit beasts were never this violent. Generally speaking, when a spirit beast channeled its power, it manifested spiritual energy, not demonic force. Unfortunately, it had been so long since a spirit beast appeared, that people had almost forgotten what a spirit beast truly looked like. Xianxia glanced behind him, then slowly looked up and said, "I know. This is a high-level demon beast, with an extraordinary bloodline flowing through it. If I can tame it, It would undoubtedly be an excellent choice. Not far away, Qi harbored this same fort. He did not hesitate long, gripping a third-grade weapon, and charged forward without a second thought. But compared to the other strength, his cultivation level was far too low, making it difficult even to approach the great bird. As the layer of flames mercilessly blocked him, he could only retreat, panting heavily. Xianxia spoke, "You all guard me. Do not let anyone near me. I will subdue this great bird." With a bang, a vision appeared behind him, one after another, finally forming a scene. Rippling waves in the sea, and a bright moon slowly rising, hanging high in the sky above his sea, making him appear divine and sacred. This was the manifestation of her divine body. Many cultivators, seeing this, halted in their tracks. Xianxia rushed forward swiftly, a green longsword suddenly appearing in his hand, a first-grade divine weapon. Not only that, the vision above his head also expanded, the scene of the moon rising over the sea instantly enlarging, as if a small world had suddenly descended. Threads of lore power swirled within, completely enveloping the great bird's body. The demonic horror emanating from it was forcibly suppressed. The cultivators were startled. Is this a divine body? It's terrifying. Within the influence of the divine body, everything was firmly locked down, and even the great bird could not move a single feather. Its previous fury instantly turned to terror. It quickly transmitted a message, human divine body, and meant no offense. "Please, do not kill me." Xianxia replied. "You were staring at the ancient town just now. Why? Someone stole and ate my egg." The great bird said furiously. "That ordinary chicken," Xianxia said. "Have you ever seen a true spirit beast?" The great bird shook its head. "No," Xianxia said. "From now on you follow me. I am a divine body of the human race. Following me, you certainly won't suffer." It hesitated. A high-rank spirit beast meant that within its veins flowed an extraordinary bloodline. Its ancestors were once immensely powerful. If luck was good enough, it might even awaken that lineage. Understandably, as a high-rank spirit beast, its potential for future growth was immense. Not only that, high-rank spirit beasts were far more likely than ordinary ones to develop advanced intelligence, or even cultivate into a great demon. Thus, making it follow a human was something it truly was unwilling to do. But then again, this human before it was no ordinary human. He was a divine body. Following him might not be a bad choice after all. "Can you help me get revenge?" the great bird asked. "Not now. That guy seems very off." It was referring to Chen Pingping. The great bird let out a long cry, and all its flames quickly retracted. Its body began to shrink gradually, until it finally came to stand beside Xianxia. Seeing this scene, everyone immediately understood. The divine body had successfully tamed this great bird. Just then, from another direction, a man and an ox silently watched the entire scene. Wan Ziroi found it hard to believe. How old is he? To be able to manifest the will of her divine body to such an extent, even a high-rank spirit beast can be suppressed at will. Damn it, that dispirited senior brother of ours wants to challenge him. Isn't that just working to his death? Old ox, hurry up and go check it out. Maybe senior brother is here too. Wan Ziroi urged impatiently. Not long after, as the man and ox entered the ancient town, they drew many sidelong glances. Wan Ziroi also spotted the little black dog. Following its gaze, he saw me, and shouted with a laugh, "Senior brother,